good when it comes to battery. So let's go ahead. It's a little bit I think let me raise the light up a little bit more so that it doesn't, you guys don't have that shadow that's right there. Sometimes you gotta pop out. There we go. Okay. Have you guys been following, have you guys listened to the new album by Kendrick Lamar? It was very good. It was definitely a continuation of They're Not Like Us diss track, in the sense that it was a diss album itself, but in the sense that the vibe, that very high, that very California vibe that it has, a very fun vibe. If you guys have listened to some of Kendrick's other music, it's very serious. I am not into very conscious rap. Like, I appreciate conscious rap, but I'm not even a big enough hip-hop head to, find me listening to all that music. I definitely have a few songs on the album that it's a hit, but they're like the most like chill R&B-ish, the one which says, those songs are the ones that are gonna draw me in a lot more. The hardcore, like rappity rap, they're not my thing, because for me, when you give me very complicated lyrics and very difficult things, my brain automatically wants to tap in, wants to understand what's going on, wants to catch, the plays, the similes, the entendres. Like, my brain goes there automatically, and I don't like to think when I'm trying to be entertained. Most of the times I want my entertainment to be very mindless. That's why if you ask me my favorite genre of music, I'll always say it's pop. But obviously I have enjoyed the pop culture side of this whole beef and the back and forth, and Kendrick announcing the Super Bowl thing, and then Lil Wayne's response. I did find it strange. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I did find it out of character for Wayne to go off like that. I'm so surprised that Young Money go so hard for each other anymore. They just didn't seem to have that connection. I remember when Nicki was getting chewed up, nobody really stood up for her, so I didn't expect that. I didn't expect her to cape for Wayne. I just didn't get it. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't get it. And I'm definitely seeing like a little, I didn't expect it, but like there's a Drake, Wayne, and Nicki. Obviously they've always been together, Young Money, Cash Money type thing. But then like now there's like a Meg, Beyonce, Kendrick thing going on. I just had an eyelash in my eye and I ate spicy food, so I couldn't really get it out of there by like putting my fingers in my face. But anyway, so yeah, there seems to be like this, the pop culture is kind of pitting these camps against each other. I know that ultimately all these people are business people and they don't really do that. I definitely think Drake, I think there is a part of hip-hop that's very linked to like a certain background, a certain life that a lot of people don't understand. Like, I remember that time when Snoop said whatever he said about Gayle and Gayle King, and about like dog walking or whatever, and like people freaked out because they understood that there is this history of violence and hip-hop and godfathers of hip-hop like Snoop Dogg. When they make calls like that, the darker side, the street life, can take it and run with it. And I think Kendrick was also trying to highlight the same thing, to say, hey, like, some of the things that Drake did during the battle would have potentially taken things off wax onto the streets. And again, I think it kind of points out to that thing that like feeling that either Drake is really, mean, or he's oblivious. Either way, it's not a good look PR wise. Then recently Drake decided to sue his label because he feels like they were gassing up Not Like Us and they're trying to take him down and blah blah blah, which very valid, right? Like, I don't even think that that's a lie in terms of like his thought process. But the music giants is when they feel like you want too much of the game, they are going to cut you out. It's just that personally, I'm gonna say this, of artists whose music is hip-hop, R&B-ish, and they make what I feel like is America's catalog. Drake has Nice for What and maybe Hotline Bling. Like, his music has commercial success but doesn't have commercial success. Not in the way that tracks like All I Do Is Win no matter what. Like, that song has true commercial value. It translates. When I think about songs that people will pay to play in marching bands that are going to be televised, to use in ads and things like that, I think, yeah, not a lot of Drake's music is America's catalog. Like the way a Michael Jackson or a Beatles or like some people's music really, or like a Beyonce's like Single Ladies and things like that, and now Beyonce's Freedom. Like, there are certain songs that, or like a Madonna track, like there's certain songs that, or an Elvis, like there's certain songs that are America's catalog. They're the backbone of Americans' music. Dolly Parton, like there's some people whose music is so influential and timeless that it's going to be used for ads, it's going to be used as references in movies, it's going to be used, it's going to be remade and remixed, and future artists are going to draw inspiration from that piece of work. That is America's music. I think that in the hip-hop world, I think Kendrick Lamar's music is going to have that carry a little bit more. A few of his tracks, especially when it comes to like, when I think about Black history and I think about movies that kind of highlight things like that, when I think about like documentaries about the George Floyd protests and things like that, if that kind of work is done artistically, his music is going to be the soundtrack to that. Because I know a lot of us don't know Kendrick music. I'm really in that camp of like, I don't know a lot of it, but I know that his music is heavy protest music. Like, if you go to a protest, they are going to pull up some Kendrick records, and just, there's such an anthem to protest. He just has that reputation and that brand. So yeah, so there's that. So I don't know if his fight is gonna be valid. I think good luck to him and everything. But I do think on the other end, like, so I understand the business sense of what Drake is doing, but I do think that on the PR side it looks very corny. Very, very corny. It looks like you lost the battle. So now you're trying to stage other battles and other wars. And also for me, here's the part that I'm like, come on Drake, you shouldn't have. I feel like he's, how did you know? Like, I feel like if he's claiming that Universal is doing all these tactics, I'm like, have you used them before yourself? That's where my brain first went to, is, oh, you know what they're doing to you because you've done it to others. And listen, we're not going to pretend these music groups, they do like to have a formula that works and that wins, and they will double, like, when, I mean, I think that's why Nicki was so concerned, right, about young female acts coming behind her, is because as consumers, we just think she's beefing with the girls for no reason and everybody can win. But the business people behind the scenes don't think that. They think there's one marketable, sellable person, and it was Drake. And that was the end of the story. And if it's gonna be Kendrick now, then it's not gonna be Drake. And I think that was actually scary, is Kendrick then going on to drop an album that's got bombs, like club hits. Yeah, it's a threat. But the good thing, I think for me, at least as I see it, the good thing about Kendrick is he's not a back-to-back, every year I give you something artist. So even he's gonna do a good run this time. He's gonna go away, and Drake can come back and pick it up, and Future can come back and pick it up. Whoever is hotter and better, younger, can come in again and do their thing. Savage and all these people can come in and make it happen with music. So it's not a big deal. Interesting thing in the mix is how Caesar got caught up in the mix, and how she's now collaborating with Kendrick. So I am wondering, for that case, I'm wondering if it's a chicken and egg situation where they accused her of being the snitch, so she switched, or she was already the snitch, so she switched. We will never know. Even though they tried to say she wasn't the snitch, and I don't think she is. You know, one thing I've found is sometimes people try to pin blame on a woman so that men can just do that whole thing, you know. One other thing that has been hot and happening within the same conversation is an issue about Andrew Schultz, and it's so funny because I think Kendrick has a line where he says, "Can't let a white comedian talk about black women. That's law." And if you follow podcasts and stuff like that, you would know that there was a lot of talk about shits and giggles, and them talking about Andrew Schultz making fun of, black women, and their podcast lost a little bit of support there. I don't even see them on my timeline anymore. That's how much support they've lost. And so Andrew Schultz thought the line was about him, and he said some very nasty things back, doubled down on his stuff, and not looking cute for him. Andrew Schultz is always, to me, I'm sorry if you guys like his content, shout out to you. I disengage with people who are racist, or think racism is funny, or think the things they say don't have any consequence, or I don't engage with that. Like, I don't engage with people who are mean for the sake of being mean. The only place where I like people to be a little bit mean is my Real Housewives girlies. They are allowed to be mean to each other because it's all cute and fun and games to me. I've never liked Andrew Schultz. Funny enough, I used to be a bit of a fan of Charlamagne the God, especially when he was addressing mental health and things like that. I really used to enjoy that commentary, and I tried to listen to The Brilliant Idiots so many times. That's the name of the podcast. I tried to listen to it, and I just couldn't get behind it. I just can't get behind it. I think that I don't like when people use stereotypes to create their jokes. It's just, I don't even like it when people of other races do it about themselves within their own group. Does that make sense? Like, there are some female comedians that are white who do the same thing, the whole Chelsea and Love. There's just some things that are too dark. Like, I don't like it. I like comedy to be self-deprecating and light and fun. I like Kevin Hart and Trevor Noah. I like people who make fun of themselves. I don't like people who make fun of other people. I don't care. And I generally don't like comedy that's social commentary. I think you guys have noticed, because I said I didn't even like the social comedy. So I know, very controversial, but I don't like social commentary too much. Just give me your lived experiences and your funny storytelling. That's the kind of comedy I like. Your life stories, but funny. That's what I like. So that whole back and forth, I don't like it. I don't like what he said. The historical context is wild. You know what? If you are a person of color, if you are black and you live in New York, shout out to you, because all New Yorkers think that they're urban and they're hip hop enough and that they are black adjacent enough, and just the history of this country doesn't agree with that. Yes, there is a strong history of immigrants being treated poorly immigrate, generations of immigrants coming in, and they all come through New York. So there is a generation of like shared immigrant pain, but I think it's very different to what black people experience. That's becoming too heavy. But anyway, so yeah. Ultimately, I'm enjoying the beef, I'm enjoying the commentary, I'm enjoying everything that's going on in the hip-hop world. Let's go over to the pop girlies. Beyonce was just named greatest pop artist of all time, and the Swifties were, some of the Swifties, not all of them, some of the Swifties were mad. They felt like she should have been number one. No, she shouldn't have been. I'm actually impressed she's number two. Because I feel like I think for me, the 21st century is the 21st century is a long time so far. It's 24 years. 2000, I think 2001 to 2024. It's a few years, okay? It's 23 years at least. So I think there are other people who could have outdone Taylor. I think it would be very impossible for you not to have her be top two at this point just because she's the most recent thing. But when I think to the early 2000s, the girls were giving. A lot of girls were giving. I do think it's also kind of difficult to, I think the issue of why people are kind of getting thrown is because I feel like both the top two at least, Beyonce has an R&B hip-hop, an R&B audience, and Taylor has a country audience, and those audiences are huge in their own right, and then the pop part is not as big, honestly. Both Beyonce and Taylor Swift are currently pop stars, but they were not. Well, they've dipped and dabbled, if that makes sense. But I do think their pop albums were good. That's the truth. Their pop albums were good. Taylor's first pop album is my favorite album that she's ever made. And Beyonce's pop albums were amazing. I liked those two, so I think that's definitely it. But if y'all remember how big Lady Gaga was, if y'all remember how big Katy Perry was, what those people were, and they were pure pop, pure bubblegum pop. You could not make them R&B, you could not make them hip hop, you could not make them country. They didn't have any jazz, nothing, no other background. They were just pop. Can't read my poker face. What? That was huge. And I even think at a certain point Nicki Minaj was a huge pop star. Like a huge pop star. So I do think that there is like a little bit of space and room for things. So Billboard gets to decide, so it's okay. And there's some artists from the maybe more 90s icons who had huge hits in the early 2000s. And also some artists who fell off, the Britneys, the Christinas, the Justin Timberlakes, like some people. Justin Timberlake was hot, okay, but I can see how their runs, I guess it would be like last man standing at this point, right? Or so far type of thing. I'm so sorry. I said somebody else is in the house today, so y'all can hear all that. But I love all the conversation around music. Guys, I have to say I like Chappell Roan now. I love her music. But that one song I like, Dua Lipa, is the only person who I like her songs, but I don't like them. Like when I hear them, na Houdini, I'm like, yes girl. But when I try to listen to them just randomly, I can't. The two girlies who are giving it to me, Chappell Roan and Sabrina Carpenter right now. So that's exactly what we're trying to say. So let's say 10 years from now, 20 years from now, let's say, people are trying to crown and they have to choose between a Sabrina Carpenter and a Taylor Swift, or a Chappell Roan and a Taylor Swift. different. Okay, so that's it. That's it for that whole conversation. And I feel like also Taylor Swift has also just come into her showmanship. Before this new tour, Taylor's shows were very minimal. You know, it's like a Billie Eilish concert. Billie Eilish's concerts can be very minimal. Doesn't mean that they're not impactful, but her showmanship is very minimal. And Taylor's showmanship has only grown now. You know, she's going big, but before she was keeping it relatively simple. She was a country artist, and there's a certain formula over there that she was using in the pop world, and she's had to change. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We'll see. Beyonce came out guns blazing, big. She was more R&B, and that's what's so funny is if you ask Black people, Beyonce's music was very pop in her first few albums, and then became more R&B and hip hop later. But she was appealing to her base in the beginning, and so the crossovers were not as much. Her crossover hits were Single Ladies, where Run the World, I think To the Left was a crossover. But when you look at the album 4, and you know, certain things, there's just not that many crossovers. It kind of died down. And she did Lemonade, and it was not even. And Drunken Love was a crossover, but it was very much a hip hop record. So you think about that, and now you think about Renaissance. Renaissance crossed over. The whole album crossed over. It was a dance album. It crossed over. It really hit the pop record. It hit some marks with pop there. And when you look at 16 Carriages and stuff like that, like the couple songs on Cowboy Carter, they did the thing, you know. So I think even though the music she's making now is not as, is now more core to her base, it's still crossing over, so great job. And that's the same thing, and then Taylor Swift, same thing. Taylor always has crossover records on every album, you know. And that's what makes Taylor pops too, is because even some of her country albums have always had pop crossover records. That's great. But I just want to tell you that there were people who were doing pure pop. There are people like Lady Gaga and Katy Perry who were doing pure pop in the early 2000s. Okay, I don't know if it was just women that were on the list, but there are certain people like Bruno Mars and Justin Timberlake who've always been in the zeitgeist of that.